Hey, good morning, my friends. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. It is Chat with Matt. Hi, I'm Matt uh, with Mantara. So yeah, it's Chat with Matt. 30-minute live stream. It is coming to you live from Bali. It's 5:30 a.m. on the 30th of October 2019. This is a bit later than Chat with Matt normally occurs. It is a regular thing. It usually happens an hour and a half earlier than this, but as you can imagine, 5:30 a.m. is early enough for me as soon as I'm here in Bali doing a mastermind, short, intensive retreat type thing with my business mentor. Anywho, here we are. I'm here to answer any questions, so if you pop on live and feel, I'm just sorting out a mosquito or two, if you sort out, if you pop on live and you want to ask a question, then please feel free to just type it in, and hopefully today, because it didn't work when I did a live stream in my group yesterday, the comments come up on the screen. Otherwise, I do have my trusty laptop with me right here, and I will hopefully be able to monitor it. I'm just shaking the little table that I'm using. Hopefully able to get the questions off there if the other thing doesn't work. Facebook, it's a morphing, changing, evolving beast, and sometimes there are little hiccups, just like life, just like life and just like us. We're all morphing and evolving, and Facebook's a great example of how, a huge big platform like that, they're not afraid to keep changing things, which in sometimes is frustrating, but in the overall sense of it is their success, right? That they keep it fresh, that they keep on their knife's edge, and they're willing to try things. If it doesn't work, they backtrack, or they just try something else, or whatever, right? But they're not afraid to act. I think I've talked about that before. Anyway, I have got a couple of questions written in ahead of time. I always put a post up about 12 hours or so. Last night it was only 8 hours. It was actually a little less, but so obviously I haven't had that much downtime today. Because I'm busy. James gave me quite a bit of homework. I've been writing my dream down. In a newer, more deeper, more whatever way, more triggering way. That's the truth of it. More vulnerable way. Anywho. So let's have a read of what's here. Sister Sylvie wrote in. So many credit there. We don't worry about that. I would love to know more about embodying peace. Good, this is a good topic. I like peace, right? Peace is a big topic. Peace is an important topic. I'm all for peace. Regarding negative entities or negative ETs. ET stands for extraterrestrials, which is another term for entities. It's another term for life forms. We tend to classify things as terrestrial, e.g. they walk on the planet, and extraterrestrial, they walk off the planet. But a lot of ETs are in light bodies. Entities are all sorts of things. It's anything that has a measurable energy field, basically. So you could call a rock an entity, but generally when we talk about entities, we talk about something that has a tiny little gecko over there. We talk about something that has a form of intelligence. It might be quite a low form of intelligence, though. Because in some ways viruses and bacterium and fungi are all entities, and quite often malevolent, what we would call malevolent, although they're just working for their cause, and it's against our cause, right? Our cause to live, against their cause to recycle energy. Anyway, so basically what I'm attempting to do here is to take the charge out of the term ET and entity, because it's all just energy. It's all just energy. But anyway, let's continue with the question. This is generally how it goes with Matt. He tries to answer things. Well, it's not really me answering, that's the point on the channel, right? When information flows, I have to speak it, because I can't retain it in my head and then think, oh, that's a good point, I'll say that in a minute. It doesn't happen. So, hang on. Is it helpful to fight negative entities in the astral realm? Is it helpful when I am strong enough to firmly send them back to where they belong? I'll answer that in a minute. Or is it my attitude that creates more and more confrontations like this? I notice that I increase the difficulty of the psychic attacks that I need to defeat each time my gifts unfold. Is it due to a misconception in my mind about needing to fight and would it serve me more to just exude peace? Would it help clear the astral realm the same? Well, let's start at the very base of this. What's clearing the astral realm? Is that even possible, right? How big is the astral realm? And can we ever think about this idea of clearing it, right? Is it something that's supposed to be clear? Because that's the point, right? You have this conception, and we all get into these stories, that there's badness there, and for us to be peaceful and happy, we need to get rid of the badness, and then life's going to be great. So once we clear the astral realm, then we'll no longer be influenced by entities or energies there. We'll no longer, get sidetracked in our dreams or in other experiences into situations that we perceive as wrong because they're uncomfortable in the long run. But it's a misconception. In my opinion, it's a misconception. In my opinion, there's no need to clear the astral realm, and even if it was possible to clear the astral, because it's a big place, right? It's like when you start trying to talk about clearing infinity, when does that end, right? So by getting into these stories that something needs to be cleared, we perpetuate an ongoing battle that we identify with, and then to keep proving your improved abilities, you pick bigger and bigger fights. You manifest bigger and bigger fights to prove that you are growing, that you are getting stronger, and that you are succeeding, right? Because that's success. As you know, the activist mindset is a very real thing. We see it in people quite clearly. People who identify with a cause, whether it's saving the ocean from plastic, or whether it's saving the world from global warming, or whether it's ending child abuse, and all of those things are honourable things to work towards. They're all things that are worth advocating for. But the activist mindset is one where you look for what's wrong and you make it your purpose to fight against the wrongness, to fight against the injustice, to fight for the little person. Great. You have made your purpose now to perpetuate fight, because your purpose is always very strong and is always honoured by the universe. And if it's your purpose to fight, you will always find a fight. People on this planet who are looking to fight to prove themselves from a legitimately virtuous place to start with, go into this, that's wrong. So it always starts from a judgment. That action is wrong, or that outcome is wrong. I want to fix that. It would make me feel good to fix that, right? Egoically, it would make me good to fix that, because I don't want to see that suffering anymore. That hurts me. So we start working to fix something that we perceive as wrong, an injustice, or whatever we call it. Well, they're all kind of injustices in our mind, but it's coming from a space of judgment that we know what's right and wrong. Like, absolutely, that's wrong. That's why I'm fighting against it. But do we really know if it's wrong, or is it just part of the universe balancing the energy that is, right? And while I'm the last person to want to see people suffer due to my, quite empathic and sensitive nature, right, and the idea of children being involved in stuff and all the horrendous shit that's happening, right, it's all happening, but the point is fighting against it actually feeds it. And so it's the same working with the astral realm, thinking that your mission is to clear negative entities from the astral realm, perpetuates that outcome where you have a negative entity to clear, because that then allows you to live on purpose. And living on purpose is very important to the universe, because that's the way you've chosen to express your divinity. Any choice to express your divinity is honored by the universe, and none of it is wrong. It's not wrong for you to fight to get rid of entities, right? That's not wrong. If that's what you want to do, then go ahead and do it. But understand that you will never win, right? You will just keep perpetuating your purpose, and you will keep coming up against bigger and bigger nemesis to keep proving yourself about how good you're doing with your purpose, right? Because that's how it works. So when choosing a purpose, I would always encourage people who want to live in an empowered way to choose a purpose that is basically advocating to empower things rather than fighting to get rid of things, right? Fighting against what you perceive as negative is never a great purpose, in my opinion, right? If you want to get to a space where you get true soul satisfaction, if you just want to have an experience on an egoic level, which will no doubt feed into your wisdom, go right ahead, because no skin off my nose. I'm not here to fix the world. I'm here to empower people who align with me. I'm here to empower people who want to grow in this way. I'm here to empower people who feel aligned with me, because I know I can do that, and I know that in doing that I will help a network of empowerment spread out through our society. Hey, Sister Emily Rose, talking about clearing entities and the fight a lot of people go into with this idea that we're, Sylvie brought up the point, should I be trying to clear the astral realm of entities and negative ETs? And my point is, if you go right ahead, but it's going to keep perpetuating and it'll never end, because the astral realm is near on infinite, and there's always new energies arising into it. So it'll be a never-ending battle. Hey, Sister M, if you have a question or a comment or a request, then reach out and hopefully I'll see it here. Otherwise, I will I'll do a refresh on this page and hopefully I will see it here in my thing, just as... Oh no, I've already seen a comment here because I've already seen Hey Matt, so that's awesome. So it looks like Facebook's working as it should today, even though it didn't in drops of light on Saturday. So yeah, Sylvie, what was the next part of your question? I'll draw it from the bottom up just for a change. So there is a time, right, if an entity is messing with something that you have clear direction is not helpful, right? If someone, like I clear entities from people, right? I help people release themselves from negative energies of all sorts, whether that's an entity, whether it's a curse or a promise, a story, which is some of the most powerful, right, belief systems, which is basically what you've got running out here, because we've all been, many of us have been indoctrinated with this idea that light warriors fight against darkness. And it's a misconception, because light warriors advocate for the light. That's what we do. And of course, if we're attacked by darkness, we need to be able to fight. But we don't go looking for the fight, because what we put our energy into is what grows stronger. That's how the cycles work. That's what happened, in Atlantis and whatnot, amongst a whole bunch of other stuff. But basically, when these big falls have happened, it's because we've started focusing on what we perceive as the enemy and put all our energy into it. It happens. It's the ego. It gets out of hand. So, Sister Sylvie, Astral Realms. I think I've basically answered it, right? It is a misconception about a need to fight, and it's a story. And so, there's always times when we have to be willing to fight for what we believe in, and fighting is not wrong. But if you wish to live in an empowered way, where you spend the majority of your time empowering people to be empowered, which is what I love doing, and I know in your heart you do too, then it's much better to exude peace. Which is basically, I see you, I see that you're negative, you have no place here near me or near the people who I love and are working for. So boundaries are placed, right? For me, entity clearing is much more like negotiation than fight, right? Because I learned this from a high-level spiritual being. I'll use that term rather than a name, because otherwise everyone goes, oh, you talk to, right? And I have no proof. He didn't show me his passport. The point is that I had, I've had guidance from time to time from Spirit as I've stepped through the exact same journey you're going on. And when I was attempting to clear a very negative influence, you could call it dark lord, demon, whatever, from a client, I had the inkling that we were supposed to chase such darkness down and defeat it and end it. And my guidance was, well, that will never work. They're undefeatable. Our job here is just to maintain boundaries, right? It's, so there was a big show of force in this confrontation where the Dark Lords and their emissaries, their workers, their the forces of darkness laid claim to this person and this person's life force. And we and the Legions of Light stood on the other side and said, no, we're rescinding that. This person no longer wishes to. That contract was entered into in other time, spaces and dimensions. it's not holding water anymore. And so, the darkness rises up and tries to scare you, because that's how darkness works, through the mechanism of fear. And we rose up in light and showed that we weren't scared, and then negotiation had to take place. In which case, we basically said, this is a no-go anymore. What claim do you have? Because that old piece of contract doesn't hold tight today, in today's energy, today's choice. Everyone is at choice, and even darkness has to honour the right to choose, your sovereign free will. That's the point, though. They don't tell you that. They keep insinuating that you're trapped, which keeps you in fear, which keeps you trapped, right? The story is perpetuated with their clever mind games and their authoritarian use of the shadow masculine and other forms. I've seen some very dark entities of the shadow feminine as well, using slightly different tactics, but nonetheless working with fear. Because it doesn't always have to be authoritarian, right? And masculine-based fear can be the fear of the feminine, which is basically the instability, fear of instability, rather than fear of dogmatic, rule-based energy, right? Shadow feminine for me is scarier. I'm more comfortable dealing with the shadow masculine. Anywho, but that's that's another discussion maybe. Anywho, so yeah. Advocate for peace, Sylvie, and you can just turn your back and basically just hold boundaries with aspects of darkness that you perceive at this time are not beneficial for you, because you have to understand that they're there for a reason and they're doing a job. It's like if we were foolish enough to think we could get rid of all of the bacteria off the planet so that no one would get sick, right? We would all be dead very quickly, because bacteria does a very, very important role. If we were to be stupid enough that we can eliminate viruses and then we're all going to be better off, we would also end life on the planet very quickly, right? Because viruses also are a legitimate life form that have a role to play here, and they only really interfere with us when we're in a state of weakness, right? Which is basically their job. They're like the sharks of the ocean. They go around and they clean up what's weak, what's dying, what's already dead. So the problem is that most humans are so messed up with their lifestyle choices, with their diet and their energy, and they're not getting enough sleep and whatever. Viruses and bacteria are having a host because they're, halfway dead. They've weakened themselves, and I'm not going to get into into what else has happened to people with drug therapy and vaccines, and I'm not opening that can of worms, right? But it's huge, and so. And then we point the finger, well, the viruses are getting stronger. No, it's not. It's not the case. We're getting weaker. Definitely the case that the human race is under an entourage of negative influence to weaken our immune system, and weaken our energetic system, and weaken our mind system, so that we can be more easily controlled and fed from, not just from viruses, but from entities and dark forces, right? But fighting against the entities and dark forces isn't the answer. Advocating for our own strength, our own confidence, our own health on all levels, physically, mentally, energetically, and spiritually, emotionally as well, I think I missed out, is what's required here. So advocate for what you want, advocate for peace. Don't get caught up fighting, because you will just wear yourself down and end up a victim of what you're fighting against. Whew. First question down. Chat with Matt. So second question from Jen Burns. Yes, so I sometimes get mixed signals about when to embody the masculine, doing the action-based, and when to be in the feminine, allowance and attracting. I'm biting my tongue at this stage. Awesome. Enjoy your voice workshop one-on-one. That sounds awesome, and I can imagine it is very, very triggering. If I was going to a voice workshop, someone who has felt very ashamed, I'll use that term because it's probably the closest one that's true, about their voice for most of their life, and now finds themselves as a channel and using their voice as a sound healer and everything else that I do as a coach. It's an interesting place to be. So awesome. Sending much love and support with you, Em, as you go off and have the most empowered experience with your voice coach. I'm loving that. Awesome. So anyway, let's keep going. So, and I'm biting my tongue around the idea of needing to be in one or the other, in the masculine or in the feminine. But I'll keep reading. I'm finding a lot of it disentangling divine guidance from programming. It is about disentangling divine guidance from programming, and also that it comes back to me also differentiating my long-term intentions with short-term satisfactions. You're freaking on the right track here, Jen. Sometimes that feels tricky, though. No, thoughts on this? Yes, plenty of thoughts. Someone else has written in. I thought, let me hit on that. One reply. Sylvie wrote in, last meditation was about that in the transformation and support group. And that's true, right? I did a meditation this time yesterday. It was this time yesterday. I did a meditation from this exact spot to our internal subscription group, which is only $33 a month if you're interested in it and you're watching this. And I do a meditation every week, along with a lot of other calls and some other live streams and a whole bunch of stuff, including energetic support. You don't need to attend to all of it, but there's a lot of benefit there when you pick and choose what suits you. But yes, I did talk about embodying the yin and the yang yesterday and allowing it to dance together. I can't remember exactly what I said, of course, but I remember it. So, Jen, but here on Chat with Matt, it is a very legitimate question. So my first point is we never either embody the masculine or the feminine in totality, right? We're neither one or the other. Always a mix, and it's just a matter of where the pendulum has swung to as to whether we're a little bit more predominant in masculine, whether we're a lot more predominant in masculine, whether we're a little bit predominant in feminine, or whether we're more predominant in feminine, and that range in between. Now, our goal is not to stay in the middle. It's not to stay 50-50. That is not the goal. We will always naturally swing from side to side, and maybe over a period of a couple of decades, if we were a balanced person, we would find that the percentage over a couple of decades might be close to 50-50 masculine feminine if we were a balanced person, even if being a balanced person is a rightness, which I'm still not sure about. But a lot of people talk about this balance and this, they feel that they need to balance, but many of us are talking from a space that is perpetuated to self-judgment, right, from our low self-worth issues. And this judgment thing is just one other objective to live up to, which is incredibly hard to determine whether you are succeeding or not, and even more incredibly hard to, so it's hard to measure, and almost impossible to feel satisfied with that I'm doing balance right. So my opinion around balance is to throw it out the window, right? We don't need to balance things. We need to be happy, we need to be effective, we need to work in a way that feels empowered and achieves our progression towards more and more freedom to be ourselves in a divinely magnificent way in the light, right? I know all of that sounds like hyperbole, but it's the best way to describe our trajectory for people like you and me, Jen. So, you said all the right things here. A lot of it's about disentangling, what feels right from your heart about what your head is telling you should do in this case, right? Because our head is quite often predominated towards one or the other from a story that we've been bought into, whether we're an introvert or an extrovert, right? This idea that if I'm an introvert, then I should stay, quieter, or I need to stay quieter. And it's kind of like, well, if you're an introvert, you gain your energy from spending times in stillness and silence and introspection. That's how you feed yourself. And an extrovert feeds themselves from getting out in the world and interacting with people. That's how they feed themselves. That's how they recharge themselves. But being an introvert doesn't mean that you have to necessarily be uncomfortable out in the world. It means if you're out in the world all the time, you will generally find your energy struggling to maintain your energy. That's what it does mean. And if you're an extrovert, it doesn't mean you shouldn't spend time in stillness, or it's even uncomfortable for you to spend time in stillness. But if you don't get a dose of extroverted activity, right, if you don't make connection and get out there with other people, then you will find over time you struggle to maintain your energy, because extroverts require themselves or recharge themselves in that form of external relationship with people, and introverts recharge themselves by spending time alone, connected more to source, right? Extroverts also connect to source, but they do it through the medium of other people. Introverts like to connect to source through the medium of stillness and introspection. That's the difference. Introverted people can also act like an extrovert. They can also get out and do what they do, but they have to spend time recharging as well. Extroverts can also look like introverts and sit in meditation and enjoy all of that benefit of doing introverted stuff, spend time doing art on their own, but then they need to recharge by getting out and being social. So the point is, we don't need to balance being an introvert and an extrovert, because it never happens. Either we're one or the other. Either we get our energy one way or the other. We can, over time, we can moderate what we need. So an extremely introverted person really finds it difficult to spend much time at all in the company of other people, because it makes them feel uncomfortable, because it's not their natural state of being comfortable. Extremely extroverted people have trouble closing their eyes and being still just for a few moments. That's not a particularly healthy state to be in my opinion, but it's only my opinion. If it works for them, it's an expression of their divinity, and it's all good with the universe, right? But in my opinion, generally we are happiest as a human when we're a little bit more easygoing. We're a little bit closer to the middle ground, when we're a little bit able to dabble in what is not our preference and not find ourselves massively uncomfortable, because otherwise we get very limited. If you're extremely extroverted and you can't be still, then that limits what you can enjoy and what you can do. You have trouble going to bed, you want a television on at night, right? All of those things is, that's not always an extroverted quality, by the way. Sometimes some people who are very introverted also need a lot of distraction because of their own insecurities, right? So got to be careful about what you talk about, because people take a symptom that might be present in many extroverts and then think, well, I don't have that, therefore I'm not an extrovert. It's just not the case, right? I'm running out of time. I just looked at the clock. I've got to pack my bags today because I'm leaving at 10 o'clock tonight, even though it's only 6 a.m. In an hour's time, I'm off to my last day of my mastermind intensive, and then basically from there we'll make my way to the airport for a flight out tonight. Anywho's, but let's finish what I'm saying here. So yes, it does come back to disentangling the difference between what your heart's telling you to do and what your, because I got lost in the introvert extrovert thing, which is not what you asked about anyway. And the stories that are being perpetuated in your mind about the shoulds, the way you're supposed to be in the world. If you want to be successful, then you need to make all of these external actions. You need to be masculine, you need to be yang, you need to be out there, you need to be doing it, you need to be putting the posts on social media, you need to be networking, you need to be advocating for your business if you want to be successful. Yes, you do need to do some of that, but also, if you want to be successful in business, in my opinion, you need to spend your time doing your meditation. You need to spend your time doing your vision work, writing your journal, aligning with the energies that you're choosing to bring into all of that activity that you do. Because if you don't spend the time connecting to who you are, then all of this doing out in the world will start getting very, very shallow and superficial. You'll be doing the do from what you've been told in your head, rather than doing the do as an expression of you. Oh, I like that. Doing the do as an expression of you. We always like alliteration and rhyme. So that's it, right? If you don't, quote unquote, balance it, which is not about getting it 50-50, but it's about working with what you feel in any particular moment of now, to connect deeply and be more yin, more feminine, more aligned with the depth of you, then you don't allow yourself to have an adequate foundation to do the activity without getting lost in the activity, because it's very easy for the ego to rise in activity, to get into the satisfaction of an activity, and to lose your true purpose, your true why, as to what you're doing with the activity. Why are you doing the activity, right? What's the purpose of this? It's not just to get the satisfaction of another tick on the list, right? Oh, I've done that, that's great, right? I've really got through my list today. Fantastic. What a great expression of the divine you are. List fulfilling, right? Until you get bored of list fulfilling, and then you can move on to going back to being an expression of a greater aspect of you, right? Beyond fulfilling lists and doing what you're supposed to do in order to be, quote unquote, successful in the world, right? And then thinking your happiness is going to arise out of that, which I think has been proved time and time again doesn't happen, right? Many people have fulfilled a lot of shoulds in this world and still haven't been happy, right? Happiness is a choice. Happiness is basically the feeling of connection with the depths of who we are and being able to express that out into the world, so we feel the purpose in our connection, right? Because connection on its own doesn't necessarily bring happiness. I know that because I've been there, right? spending a lot of time in meditation, a lot of time very connected to who I am, but not happy because I'm not living it, I'm not expressing it. And ultimately we're here to express that connection, not just to maintain or feel the connection, right? Feeling the connection is great. It's what motivates us into action, but it's expressing the action that really allows us to feel that satisfaction. But if you're just doing actions looking for satisfaction without the connection behind it, then it's empty. And we go, fuck, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do here out in the world, but I don't feel happy, right? Because you're not really expressing who you are, you're just expressing what you've been told to be. And so we come back to this word balance, which I just ridiculed a minute ago, but we have to have both aspects. It's not about 50-50, it's about an appropriate amount of each at the appropriate time, which is always very dynamic, right? It's always very dynamic. So that's it, Jen. Any thoughts? Yeah, there were plenty of thoughts on that. Any thoughts on how to move forward? It's just to hold an intention to work in that way, to get out of the shoulds about when you should be introvert and when you should be extrovert, and working with what's appropriate in the time from your divine guidance, not from your mental programming, your shoulds. And that takes practice, and we're always going to fall over. I keep, quote unquote, getting messed up in this and finding myself on the wrong side of the equation. Wrong side being this is not in alignment with what I'm choosing, not wrong from some judgmental universal viewpoint, right? Because there is no wrong in that point of view. It's just I'm out of alignment right now, so this is wrong for me. I want to correct this because I can see this is not leading down the path that I intended to go. How's that? That'll do, right? Chat with Matt. Out of the water. I had it done again. Next week we'll be back to my regular time, 9 a.m. New Zealand, which will be, I'm not sure when America's going daylight saving, or off daylight saving, more to the point, but it will be either 4 or 3 p.m. Central. I'm not even sure if I got that right. Maybe it'd be 3 or 2 p.m. Central, and whatever it is in the UK, 8 p.m. I believe now, because I know the UK has come off summertime. So 9 a.m. New Zealand will be 8 p.m. UK. Chat with Matt next Wednesday/Tuesday night. Much love to you all. If you have any questions in the meantime, if you feel that I can help you in any way, I'm a facilitator. I work, right? I'm out here to work. I do sessions with people. I run programs with people. I mentor people. If you feel that I can serve you, then reach out. Just put a comment on here saying, hey, I want to reach out, and we'll hook up through Messenger or email or whatever, right? I'm here to help people. So this is great. A little bit of insight, a little bit of motivation, but I'd love to help you more if you feel in alignment with that. Much love. Bye for now. Namaste. Bye-bye.